Hello, welcome to Hurt, Heal, Evolve with Tiquana April. I'm so glad you can join us today. Hope your week's been fine. Hope you've been good. I have a special guest with me today. We're going to be talking about purpose pivots. We have Lady Mallori Cuningkin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Getting used to the new last name still. So
How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Yes.
It's been a morning.
Yes, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So.
All right. So, I brought you on.
Yes.
We are, I like to say, probably kindred spirits.
Yes.
We grew up in the church. So we're going to have some church girl talk today.
I'm here. I'm here for it. Yes.
Mallory, I've been knowing her ever since. I think we're about the same age. We're not going to be putting ages out here.
Not today.
But I think we're a few years apart.
Okay.
But just in case people were not familiar, she is the daughter of Bishop Jerry Macklin. And before we get into her story, I have a little video I want to play just to get everybody familiar with her father. And that way we can draw a correlation between what we're going to be talking about today. So let's go to that video.
I believe deeply that everybody wants to do something in life that matters, that it counts for something, that I was allowed to live on this earth, but what did I do with what I had? And so when people invest in what we're doing, they're not just doing it for themselves, all right? It starts with you. It begins with you, but it's not about you. It's so much bigger than that. So I challenge people to be a part of something larger than themselves.
That was your
I
dad.
know. I'm sure I'll get a call after this.
Right. So I'm going to start here.
Yeah.
Growing up with, I'm going to say pretty much world-renowned father. Started off a little small and then grew into COGIC.
Right.
The pressures of being a bishop's daughter. Did you feel any pressures?
So growing up, I did not initially, right? Nothing changed for us. We still went to church. We still, family vacations, came home, school, sports activities. We opened the doors of church, closed them, spent our weekends there sometimes, late nights, but nothing was different for me. I didn't know until later who my dad really, really was.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that he worked in ministry. I knew that he pastored and preached on Sundays and had to take calls throughout the night, for normal things that happen in ministry. But to me, that wasn't a pressure. It was normal. My parents made sure that we had a normal, balanced childhood. So there was no pressure initially growing up. I think, again, when I got older and started to maybe feel that from outside influences, but it didn't come from inside at all.
Okay, and normalcy. That's huge because a lot of people, I think they assume because you have your PK, that there are certain pressures that come along with it from within the household versus out the household.
Absolutely not. I think whether my parents pastored or not, my parents still raised us to, live a holy life, to, do what they told us to do, to, be kind to our siblings. We didn't have a lot of yelling, screaming, getting beat. Like none of that stuff happened because they explained to us. There was no double-sidedness. What they preached in church, they preached us at home. So they expected the same thing. So we didn't see something different. Again, no pressure from inside when we were growing up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch.
Okay.
COGIC.
Oh, okay.
As a whole, because I know for me, my grandfather, Pastor Blake.
Okay.
He was and is still a pastor. My mom, missionary Benita Hodges, who is here today.
Yes.
But COGIC in general, I can speak for myself.
Okay.
Now that I'm older, and can do a comparison. Right. Did you feel COGIC was strict?
No. I didn't feel that it was strict. Again, teenage years, nothing changed for me, right?
Okay.
Even when my dad became a bishop, I think I was right before I got braces. I was like 13 or so. Mm-hmm. To me, there was nothing different, right? I didn't feel they were strict. We still did everything we did before. Workers' meetings, convocations, local jurisdictions. We still worked in our local church. Like nothing changed, right? So we got to maybe a larger scale and started going things outside of, our community in California. It wasn't strict to me because we had already been raised that way.
Okay.
And again, it helped with the balance that, hey, this is what we do in church. This is why we do it. They explained a lot to us of this may not seem like it makes sense, but this is why we do what we do. This is why we believe what we believe. So they made sure to explain everything to us. If we had questions, we didn't hear it from outside sources. Right. So we could always go back to our parents and they continue to protect us
Right.
in that environment. So it didn't seem strict to us
Okay.
at all. No.
Yeah, because I know for me, because I now attend a non-denominational church.
Okay.
So the transition for me from, first of all, from moving from California to Texas, which I'm sure you can attest
I
to,
still can. Yes.
is a whole transitionary period
It
within
is.
itself.
It is.
And then I get here and COGIC, I like to say, is foundational. It was just foundational for me.
Correct.
You learn everything. I feel, now this is just my personal opinion, everybody. I feel that you learn everything you need to learn there, and then you're able to assess once you move on,
Correct.
grow up and able to compare
Correct.
the different religions
Right.
and beliefs.
Right.
Are you still COGIC?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So you still?
I am. We still are a church. But I guess moving here and being with my husband's church, our church in Arlington, was a big jump for me because we still believe what we believe. And so none of that changed, but our service, how the flow still went. We didn't have a lot of the things that we had in traditional churches, which I still value. And I still go to workers' meetings when I go. I still go to convocation. I still participate, on local calls or jurisdictional calls. So I'm still very much still a part of our culture traditions, but our Sunday services look a little bit different, right? It includes a different setting. It includes lots of diversity.
Okay.
And it's a little bit shorter. And we sing and we worship. Well, that's a factor too, but we sing, we worship. We are about the community. We're about, helping hands. So we're a little bit different, but it didn't change, our beliefs. And it doesn't change my beliefs at all. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I think that's what I miss.
Okay.
The whole workers' meetings, the
We
convocation.
still have them if you want to come.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm going to have to slide on over.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's important. I think that while some things change,
Right.
some things should remain the same.
Absolutely.
And as long as the Bible is being preached, I don't care what, because this isn't a religion thing, it's more relationship with God.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're going to have to get into a more colorful conversation surrounded around that.
Of course.
But what I want to move into is, okay, so you have the growing up, past the teenage years.
Yeah.
When can you say you actually, this might be a double, when can you say you actually accepted the Lord as your personal savior? What age?
A couple of times when I got it right, or the first time, or
Ooh.
double question.
Right.
I would say at a younger age, I did accept the Lord, right?
Okay.
Because I was part of our environment, and that's all I knew. I didn't know to go contrary to anything else, because in this household, this is what we're doing.
Period.
Absolutely, but it wasn't a struggle. It wasn't a fuss and a fight.
Okay.
I think teenage years, I tried to rebel a little bit because that's what teenagers do. But I also went to a Christian school.
Okay.
And my best friend in high school, her dad pastored when my dad pastored in Hayward, and they were from Hispanic community in church. So we had a community of believers. Okay. So nothing was really. It didn't give me a chance to kind of stray far. I tried, of course. College years, I believe that I did get it right.
Okay.
And then fell back a little bit.
Okay.
I think it came probably late 20s as when I was like, okay, Lord, I'm done running. I'm tired of doing things my way.
Right.
I'm tired of the struggle, the fight, the, knowing what to do and not doing it. That's exhausting.
Yeah.
And I think I got tired of me and was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. So.
Okay. Well, at least for you it was a couple of times, because I can say
well,
20s are good. That 20s, that era.
I don't want to go back.
Yeah. 20s for me was,
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to go there.
Okay.
Mom's here too.
No.
So yeah, we don't want to go into the 20s.
Yeah.
But I do know the fight.
Absolutely.
Knowing that you're called.
Right.
Not outside of being raised in it, but just knowing that you're called.
Your personal convictions.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do get tired of running. It's like a marathon.
It is. And then I feel like you have more to catch up. Like the further you get back from God, like now I have to play catch up.
Right.
Okay, God, can you trust me? You know what I mean? Like it's harder and it's a struggle. And I
think we make it harder on ourselves.
We do.
God already knows.
Yeah.
But we do get into those battles because I know I felt like I wasn't worthy. Okay. I don't know if you've ever got through that stage when you feel like you're not worthy. And then there's the other side of it with the another colorful conversation, dating.
No. How much time do you have?
Right.
Yeah. you know who you want to marry. You know the
Uh-huh.
type of man you want to marry. And my wonderful husband is here today.
Mhm.
But he's heard all of this. So you know what you want, how you want it packaged. You know who God has called you, that type of person to marry, right? But
Right.
yet we test the waters.
Right.
Well, God, I think they're in the church, right?
Right.
Is that enough for me? Well, they have they believe what we believe, but they're still doing, whatever they want to do. And I'm like, well, maybe I can change them.
That part.
Right. Or maybe we can work on it, or it's not serious, but
Yeah.
you're still in a committed relationship. So it's a struggle, and you know better walking into it, right?
Yeah.
You see the flags, you see you shouldn't be doing this, it's not going to work, but yet you're still there. I think that was a struggle.
Okay.
That was a big struggle.
At least, so when you dated, did you date some people in the church? Because for me, it was always people that were outside the church. I don't even think I had a desire
Okay.
into this big age
Okay.
that I am now
Okay.
to have someone, honestly speaking, to want someone that was in the church.
Right.
Everybody for me
Was outside. I get it. I did date outside of our church. And I say outside of church, I dated a Christian. But they, I don't have to go to church on Sundays. And I was like, oh, okay. But no, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Do you still have you know what I mean? So certain things didn't add up for me. I think my biggest thing was I don't want to marry a pastor. I don't want to marry a minister.
Look at here.
My husband, he knows the story, but I was like, I know how my sister, she married a pastor. My mom has been a pastor's wife. Her dad was a pastor. My dad came from a pastor's household. And I was like, I don't think I want to sign up for X, Y, and Z. Lord, let me marry a lay member who just sings in the men's chorus, who may be an usher or something.
That part.
You know what I mean? I didn't want to have to step into extra on top of what I already know I should be doing. So I was like, I'm just going to do, you know what I mean? So that, and here I am, married to a pastor.
Here you are. And how is that
Yes.
going?
So it's going well. It has been an adjustment as well. Again, we are not traditional in what I was raised in, as far as certain traditions on Sunday mornings, communion every Sunday. You know what I mean? So, but we still do a lot of what we did there. It's just a little bit different. So coming here, it's been an adjustment, but it's been good for me, I think, to be able to get closer to God without the other things that can get in the way. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
All right. So I have a question for you. We have a virtual audience and we also have an in-person audience. I'm going to ask, let me see, because they had a lot of questions for you, Mallory. We have virtual Tina Cheney, I believe.
Okay.
How do you balance wife, daughter, and ministry?
Okay. When I moved here, and Tina can attest to this too, I stayed with my parents before I moved here, and I tried to take care of everything that I could for them to lighten their load, just to kind of make things easier, because I was there hands-on. I was the only one in the house. And so I tried to do a lot just to make, they were traveling, or they were, at church or in ministry. So I was like, hey, I'll take care of this. I'll get this done while you're gone. I just didn't want them to have anything extra to do.
Right.
And so when I moved here, Mom was like, you can't manage 2 households. And I think that hit me so hard. I said, but I have to. This is what I've been, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to serve you and do this. And she said, you can't. And so she would tell me, oh, this happened at the house. And I was like, I'll take care. And she would hang up. I'm like, no, you're not. And I was like, oh, okay. So it was hard for me to manage, to still be a daughter, but not be present for them.
Right.
Right. Because I had already been so much that person for them. And then to move here and not be able to do those things, I was like, well, am I still being a good daughter? So I struggled with that a lot initially. With being a wife, again, everything happened so fast. I moved from California, finishing my degree, finishing my internship, became a pastor's wife, moved in with my husband, because there was no shacking beforehand.
That's what, no shacking.
Beforehand. So everything was new all at once.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to balance, again, wife, life, husband, career, school. And I was like, okay, what is more important right now? So of course, school, but being present for my husband. And, learning and unlearning things that I thought I wanted to do and be a wife and how he wants it. That was a hard transition for me. And then you're a pastor's wife immediately. I don't know this area. I don't know the congregation, although they were warm and welcoming. How am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? So a lot of it was an inner conversation with God. Is this what you call me to do?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be like this first lady or this wife or this? And when I spoke, I believe our first year, the message that I spoke was, be who I called you to be.
Ooh.
Right. And I was like, oh, okay. So here I was trying to do all these things. And it was like, maybe I just called you to do this way, from Mallori's way. And that was kind of the eye opener for me.
And I think for, I'm not a pastor. I'm not even a wife.
Okay.
So I couldn't even
Yeah.
imagine. I couldn't imagine being
Yeah.
a pastor's wife and the expectation
Yeah.
that the church has for a first lady. What she's supposed to look like, how
Right.
she's supposed to act, how available she's supposed to be.
Right.
Those pressures. And then we know that, and I'm saying this with all love,
Of course.
we have to admit, because we're women and we know how women,
Of course.
can be.
Yeah.
Was it hard to step into first lady? Because you're already stepping into wife.
Right.
You've already been a daughter of
Right.
a bishop.
Right.
But actually having to minister to women and having to be there for women, just that part alone.
Right.
What was that?
It was honestly what I had been doing before and didn't know.
Okay.
Right. With friends, and I have a best friend who's here today, who can attest to me being available, right? Me being present, me answering the phone, or offering advice or offering a prayer or, hey, checking in. It wasn't anything different that I was doing. Now I'm just doing it for more.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I've always been that person. And in my field, I work in counseling psychology. We talk.
Right.
I listen. We come up with a game plan to move forward. So it's nothing different for me. But again, I think the pressure that I put on myself is that I had to do it a certain way. But it didn't come from outside sources. It didn't come from my husband or the church. That's what I thought I had to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most biggest, the inner battles.
Yeah.
What you think you're supposed to do,
Yeah,
how you think you're supposed to act. Yeah, we'll drive ourselves crazy.
Absolutely.
Just turning the brain off.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question.
Okay.
From Tiffany McWhinney. I hope I'm
Mhm.
pronouncing that correctly.
You are.
What is the one thing you desire from the Lord at this stage of your journey?
I think she would ask that. The one thing that I desire mostly at this stage is to do what he's called me to do.
Okay.
And to not be kicking and screaming about it, to do it willingly, to do it with ease. You know what I mean? So I know sometimes God, like he tells you, I'm like, are you really sure, God? I want to be able to say yes immediately and not doubt or question or wonder if this, are you really sure you want me to do this? Are you calling me? Am I worthy enough? You know what I mean? Like how you mentioned before, I don't want to doubt that or second guess.
Okay. So I'm about to dig into that because I'm going to say, I don't know how. Let me be careful.
Okay.
Because how realistic really is it to say you want to be able to jump in and not have any doubt, fear? Because for me, it's all, and that's the enemy. That's
Of course.
the enemy's
Yeah.
playground. Having you doubt yourself and
Right.
do all that stuff. So what I would suggest is not to set
Expectation.
not on that.
Okay.
And I don't, if you agree, that's fine. If you don't,
Okay.
that's fine too. Because
Yeah.
I know, because you're going to hear things from him and it's going to be like, now, Lord, now I know.
Right.
Because you didn't even, pastor's wife, you didn't even think you were
I
gonna
didn't
be
think
here.
that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a question once, Pastor. And once we started dating, it was intentional. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This is what it was
This is
supposed
what,
to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to be willing and able. So when he says it, I'm like, okay, Lord, it's you.
Jump and go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're going to,
yeah.
I don't know anybody that doesn't like question to a degree. Because there's desires that we have, passions
Correct.
that we have, and then there's what God wants us to do. And that always doesn't line up.
It doesn't.
So separating it
Yeah.
can be a little challenging. But I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're out here. I know that
As
for a fact.
California girl.
Right.
So.
There ain't too many.
There's not. So. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Glenda had a virtual question.
Okay.
How do you deal with the uncertainty of waiting between the pivotal moves? How do you deal with it? And I think we just touched on that, really, the
Right.
uncertain. Because we know that all of our steps are purposed.
They are.
But how do you deal with waiting between the pivotal moves?
I'm going to go back to something my pastor preached. It's about how you wait, right? Because we know that God is going to do something, right? We know that if we're at step A, B is coming next. So how are we waiting? Are we waiting with arguing? Are we impatient?
Yeah.
Are we fussing and murmuring and complaining? God's not going to want that. He's not going to honor that. We may have a longer waiting period because we're not waiting right. So dealing with those
Right.
pivotal moments, I think it's important to do it with grace,
Yeah.
right? To quiet our voices, to quiet the things that we're saying. Yeah, we may be feeling that, but like you said, the inner voices, to turn them off.
Yeah.
to shut it down, to replace it with something positive, to replace it with, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you, rather than, oh, Lord, I can't do this. You know what I mean? So changing your self-talk, changing those things that you're going to hear each and every day, that helps you in between those pivotal moments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you not done?
Of course. Before you even answer that, yes, I have done it opposite of what I'm saying now. That's why I can say now, hey, it's about a different type of weight.
It's a different type of
Yeah.
weight.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I can admit, I've told God,
No,
just no. No.
no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I don't want to continue living like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's no such thing as, there's no such, and then knowing God's voice from the enemy's voice.
Correct.
That's another thing.
Correct.
We're going to be having some conversations on the show moving forward. I
Okay.
call them colorful conversations
Okay.
because they are conversations that a lot of people don't like to talk about. They can be tabooed, are just not popular.
Got it.
And when I say popular, I'm going to move into this segment. The traditional saved versus the trending saved is what I like to call it. The more worldly type saved versus the foundational teaching of COGIC.
Got it.
Do you feel any pressures to be more modern, more hip, more?
I don't. I know there is a trend now. There is the, hey, bring it in and we'll work it out when they get here. We'll, allow them to bring in their substances, and I mean drinking and whatever else, into sanctuaries or into church settings to make it a club type, day party type of feel, so that we just get people in. I don't feel pressure that way, because either you're in or you're out.
That part.
And I know some will argue differently, but for me and for my convictions and for where I've been, I'm not going to play with the enemy. I'm not going to play with what's right and what's wrong, because at the end of the day, I want to do what he called me to do, right?
Right.
So I don't want to test the waters.
Right.
Well, God is just around me. Well, no, either you are or you're not.
Right.
And so I don't feel any pressure to be more modernized or more trendy saved. No.
Okay. And I'm glad you said it, because those are the conversations that people, and then there's a difference between judgment with condemnation and righteous judgment.
Right.
And when you are in these settings and in these positions, as you are, the waters can get blurry with some people.
And I get it. And we give them grace and we try to help them understand, but it's their conviction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we can preach it all day long, but until they get it in their heart that, hey, I can't do these things. Some folks can listen to R&B or whatever and still be, but if you know that's not for you, you may need to close that door. Yeah. So I think it's personal. It's a personal relationship.
Yeah. And then I know probably, like, one of my desires is to bring people to God.
Okay.
Just if you walk in and taste it, I guarantee it's going to be something that you're going to love without the pressures of being a certain way. I think for women, it's extremely hard to be on these platforms and try to bring people in, but let them know this is not a game. Jesus is not the homie. And I say that only because the way you reference him, I feel, is the way you end up honoring him.
Correct.
If we reference him as the holy God, our Father, then we tend to treat him that way.
Right.
If we reference him as the homie, or that's my partner, the Lord, because I hear it.
And it's
those lackluster comments, then you serve him lackluster.
Correct.
So I hope this platform, and I hope women like you, we can come together and we can be on the same apparel when it comes to that. I have a couple more questions. I don't know, how are we on time, Sarah? Okay. Oh, wow. We got a lot of time. Okay, so we got, let me see, in person, Teray Smith, I think that's how you pronounce it. How do you handle the weight? And I think we touched on this a bit. How do you handle the weight of being a pastor's wife? And I think we did already pretty much go over that. Meredith, do you think the church struggles with gossip and forgiveness? And if so, why?
I think the world struggles with gossip and forgiveness. I think when it comes to it being in the church, people feel that it shouldn't be here. And that makes it harder.
Okay.
Right. Like people say, oh, they're hypocrites. And I'm like, well, they're hypocrites out there too. You know what I mean? But I feel like when people look at the church, it shouldn't have gossiping and backbiting. It shouldn't have unforgiveness and all these different things. It shouldn't have it. But also, where would they go?
Okay.
Right? Where would they go for healing, or to know that, hey, when you come here, this is what we expect.
Right.
In God's house, there's forgiveness and there's a different type of love. So I don't think that, I don't think churches are without it. I think it's up to us to be that culture setter. I'm going to steal my husband's word, to let them know that, hey, in this environment, we don't, it's not going to thrive here. Gossiping and mess, it's not going to thrive here. And they'll come to realize that, hey, you know what, my relationship with Christ doesn't allow me to gossip and to backbite and to be unforgiving. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. I'm going to
Off
ask.
the record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Off the that's my question.
Gotcha.
Can you not name a time in your life, let's say a big, because this is hurt, heal, evolve.
Correct.
So there's stages. Can you name a big hurt that happened?
Absolutely.
That you don't mind sharing?
I'll share, in a sense, I'll share that the hurt that I experienced was because of something I did.
Okay.
And I can't blame anybody else. I can't blame the world or environment or so-and-so did it. I did what I wanted to do. Okay. I ignored flags. I ignored warnings. I was testing the waters, and I played with my life. And I played with what, I know I have a calling. And I was like, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'll be in and I'll be out. And eventually I was too far out.
Okay.
Yep. And I think that hurt came with shame, not from anybody else, but from myself, because I knew better, right? That hurt came with guilt. That hurt came with me not forgiving myself and not moving past that pain. And that was, I think, the hardest pain, because I can't blame and I can't point fingers and I can't say so-and-so made me do it. No, I made a conscious decision to go against what God called me to do, and I have to suffer the consequences right now. So that was a really painful time for me, again, because I chose to do wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And life is about choices.
It is. And, the devil made me do it. Yeah, but you still walked in that door.
Right.
So that was hurtful. And again, I think the inner talks, the inner voices is telling me, this is what your life is going to be. You know what I mean? Like, now you're this mistake. Now you're this. And that took me a while to get past.
And those inner voices will have you stuck.
And no one knows.
Right.
Absolutely.
Except you.
Yeah.
Because I think for me starting this platform, it was the whole, you're not, first of all, you're not qualified.
Right.
Because of your hurt.
Yeah.
And you're not, but it's like, the Lord was like, no, those are testimonies. You wouldn't be able to get up here and talk about anything if you had not experienced the hurt.
Right.
So the healing from the hurt.
Continuous. Right. Like you said, the voices. For me, it was a time of close your mouth, go sit down. I got really closer with my parents during that time. I even would go to my dad. Dad, I'm feeling this spiritually. Or Dad, I don't feel like I'm hearing God's voice in this season. Talking to my mom about, how do I move forward? And she said, you can't stay here in this place of hurt. And you can't stay here in this place of pain. This happened. How are you going to move forward? And I think they helped me so much to be able to heal and to see myself in a different light. It was a lot of reading the scripture, reminding myself of who God called me to be, right? Even before I got into the position, reminding myself that I was called, that I was forgiven, that, he's not holding sin over my head, so I shouldn't hold it over my head.
Right.
The healing that took place then required me to check things off my list, right? So if I finished school, you're healing, right? You're making progress. If I closed doors that I had already opened, you're healing and you're making progress. So I had to look at little steps for me, and I couldn't compare my healing to anybody else's, right? Because some folks can heal and it's like, oh, it's so glamorous. Mine was not glamorous for me. So I think I needed to look at, how do I heal? Marking off measurements that I've done and little things here, getting a better job, saving, credit score going up. For me, that was like, okay, I'm building my confidence back. That helped with my healing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever served while hurting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think I don't want to say all, but I think those who are in church, I don't know there's a time that we got a chance to maybe sit down or to not be present for others, because we still have a responsibility to others.
Yeah.
I still served in the choir, praise and worship, or what have you. I maybe went to different service. So I wasn't seen as much.
Right.
Because we had, options for services prior to COVID. So I can go to the 8 o'clock service and leave. You know what I mean? So I could still be present in church. If I need to sing, if we're singing that day, I would serve my parents if needed. Then I could leave and, work on me or finish classes or what have you. But I still served in some areas.
Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of hard because no one knew. So.
Right.
Nobody knew.
I think that I like to call that silently suffering to an extent.
Yeah.
And I think in those moments, you make the biggest impact, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
They like to say, serving while bleeding.
Yeah.
Yourself. Those are the pivotal moments where you actually really do more for women and whoever's watching you. It does make an impact while our voices are telling us, no, you can't get up there.
Yeah, you don't deserve to be up there. Go sit down. And,
all that stuff. What do you do for self-care?
Self-care.
Self-care, Mallori, not Lady Mallori, not First Lady.
Self-care Mallori finds new recipes and cook and bake.
You cook?
Absolutely. I'm a fantastic cook.
By whose definition, Miss Mallori?
Pastor says. My own, my family, my friends. Find new recipes. Baking. I love to bake when I do it. Let's see, Netflix series, going to lunch or brunch or dinner with my husband, traveling if I can.
Yeah.
That's self-care, or turning the TV off, or just sitting to read, working on my hobbies, being quiet by myself, listening to music in the car quietly. So that's self-care.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any questions in the audience that I have not asked? No pressure, but no.
None? Okay.
Okay. It's okay. I have one more question for you. Where do you see yourself in 4 years?
In 4 years, great question I did not know about. In 4 years, I see myself probably working on my doctorate.
Okay.
Serving in a different capacity in ministry. Right now I'm over our kids and children's ministry, which is great. But once that's up and running and established the way we want it to be, I see myself serving somewhere differently in ministry, serving my husband differently in ministry. I see myself being a better wife and evolving in that area. And what else?
Okay, now I have to jump in right there.
I said it.
Being a better wife.
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
It'll be 3 years in August.
I think we have a photo.
Do it.
Yeah, we have a photo of Mallori and her husband.
Yes.
Let's go to that.
Oh,
that's Mallori and her husband.
Yes.
So a better wife. How long have you been married? You said
it'll be 3 years in August.
3 years.
Yeah.
So what can you do better as far as being a better wife? Do you have any checklist or anything that you want to be able to specifically?
But I should be able to measure it though. I should be able to say, hey, have you grown in these areas? I should be able to look back and say, hey, this is where we were. This is how I communicated. Am I doing better?
Right.
Am I checking in more frequently with my husband? I like to be by myself. I like to kind of get things done throughout the day and be able to multitask a lot, right? But sometimes I forget, like, hey, your husband just got home. I'm like, okay, you're doing this on the table. I've done all these things, but I'm not always present. So I want to be more present. I want to be more aware, more intentional like he is with me. And so I want to be better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And see that transparent moment? Because a lot of women can't. A lot of women get up here. I am not. She already.
Well, I am her. But there's room for growth.
Get it twisted.
There is room for growth. And I want to be able to say that, hey, in 4 years, I'm not where I was.
Right.
I'm a better wife. I'm a better mother. I'm a better first lady, a better friend. Like I always want to keep growing. So.
Right. And that's the point.
Right.
Hurting, healing, and evolving. It's a forever. Because I know for me, I don't ever want to get stagnant. I don't want to ever get to a place where I'm like, okay, I've arrived. This is it. I'm here.
No.
And this is what it's going to be.
No.
So evolving is super important.
Yeah.
That's all I have for you on this episode. Because I'm going to have you back on Colorful Conversations to where we're going to actually like get into some stuff, some biblical scripture, some practices, and some stuff like that. If you are up for it,
I look forward to it.
Okay.
I look forward to it. Yes.
That's all we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. We will be back shortly. Make sure you are subscribed to hurthealevolve.com and also floutforpurpose.com, which is our corporate website. Very important that you are registered on both so you don't miss a beat with what's going on with Hurt Heal Evolve. Thank you and God bless.